Hello guys, it's J Rhymes here. I'm an alien. Nice to meet you if you don't know me. My name is J Rhymes, like I said. We're gonna get started with some daily messages, and we're going to choose happy. If you don't know what I'm doing right now, I'm reading from a collective of letters that I have and messages that I have, and we're going to choose happy today and read one of them off. So today's message is: Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Matthew 5:9. Amen to the Most High. We only serve the Most High on this channel. And let's get continued with this video. It's a nice day today. How are you guys? I'm feeling great. As you can see down at the description, the title, I hit my head and I almost died. And I wanted to tell you this story because it changed my life forever and it changed my perspective. And I just kind of just wanted to get a message out while I tell this story. So if you're willing to listen, thank you. Um, so this happened to be when I was around 19, 20 years old. I am 23 right now. I know I look fairly young, but yeah, was 19 and I was going through a lot mentally at home, and I needed to get away that day. So I kind of just at the time I was smoking a lot of weed too. So there was a lot of temptation around me. My friends were all pot smokers, whatever. So I hit them up and I was like, yo, like, what's the wave? And they were like, oh, we're going to one of our friends' house. You want to come? And I was like, sure, why not? I found some random weed in my pocket, and I'm like, yo, like, I got some random weed I don't remember smoking. And so we went and we headed to this college dorm. And throughout there, I was feeling good. I was still, feeling depressed from everything I was going through, but I felt good that I was hanging out with my friends at the time. And we were all, just chilling, smoking, vibing, whatever. And we get to the apartment, or the dorm, as you might call it. And when we got there, everything was fine, and I didn't feel weird at first, but as I started to, smoke and reevaluate the scenery, I started feeling uncomfortable, and I didn't understand, spirituality at the time or intuition at the time, so it was very um, intense for me in that day. That day was very intense, and I remember it vividly because it changed my life forever. And so we're sitting there, and we were against like the bed. We were sitting on his bed because, like I said, it was a college dorm. So we were sitting on his bed. There was a computer right here, and then there was a TV. And so we were sitting on the bed, and we were looking at the TV. And I'll never forget. I felt so uncomfortable. I felt like there was just like this dark cloud in the room, and I just couldn't shake it. And I'm like, the more I smoked, the more intense the feelings got, and I just felt like I was, getting saturated by this darkness. And it felt very intense, and I never really felt something like that before. And I didn't know how to really speak of it because it was my first time experiencing something like that. So I didn't really know how, like, if I should trust my instincts, or what was going on. So I just kind of just paid it no mind. I was like, maybe it's just because I'm high. And so the more and more we smoke, the more and more I just start to feel these weird feelings that I've never felt before. And I felt like I was like in a different world. Like, I know this sounds weird, but I really did feel like I was in a different world, and not in a good way. I felt like I was on both sides of the coin. You know what I mean? And you can never serve two masters, but I felt like that was a learning curve for me. And so I sat there and I'm like, feeling all these emotions that I don't understand. And this is where things get a little tricky because I was around my cousin and around my best friend at the time. And we were all just waiting for the food to come to the house. So I'm like, got the munchies. I'm hungry. I'm just trying to pay the energy, no mind. I'm trying to, just get my mind cooled off. You know what I mean? I'm getting a little, anxious at this point. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, should I throw this in the trash? And because we ended up getting up from the bed, and I was like, should I throw this in the trash? And usually I don't think about throwing anything in the trash. Usually you just do it. But for some reason, I was hesitant on throwing this thing in the trash because it was under the TV. And the TV was mounted, but it was really dark in the room. I think there was only like LED lights on or whatever. So the food had came, and so they go, and they're in like the little kitchen area, and I'm still in the room thinking about whether I should throw this thing in the trash. Finally, I get to a conclusion. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw this in the trash. And when I go to throw it in the trash, I hesitated, and then I just finally throw it in the trash. But when I throw it in the trash, I bent over like this. So when I bent over, I forgot because I was so high that the TV was mounted on the wall because I'd never been in his dorm before. And I ended up hitting my head, the back of my head, really, really hard, severely hard. Um, and everybody just kind of turned and looked at me, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, they were like, and I'm just like in pain. I never really hit my head that hard before, and so I was just kind of in shock, and I'm just like, it hurt really bad. So I ended up, the high ended up, fading away. I'm just like, yo, like, honestly, take me home. I need to go home. Because when you hit your head that hard, they say go to the hospital right away. Don't fall asleep, just get to a hospital. So I told them, take me home right now. They're like, no, we're not going to take you home. Like, you're fine, you're fine. I'm like, no, take me home now. So finally, they get to a conclusion where they're like, we're just going to take him home. They take me home. I call, I talk to my mom. My mom is like not really, reliable in that moment. She was, she never really liked to do things for me. So I felt like a hassle even asking her, but I didn't want to die that day because I didn't want to go to sleep and I was scared to go to sleep. So I told my mom to take me home. And I told my mom to take me to the hospital. And basically, she took me to the hospital and they told me I had a concussion. And throughout that me hitting my head changed my life because it wasn't a concussion, it was a contusion. And a contusion is basically when you break the blood vessels in your scalp. And I didn't know that that was a thing. Um, and it got to a point where my head didn't heal until like 3 years after that, because the brain heals very slowly, um, and whatever not. But throughout me hitting my head, the reason why I said I felt like I was gonna die is because um, it was around COVID time. So I hit my head. My grandparents died, um, and both of my grandparents died 11 days apart from each other. And then COVID happened, so we didn't even know if we were gonna live. And it was just a really hard time for me. But throughout that, I found God throughout that time, and I started reading the Bible a lot more heavily, just skimming through it, and I just felt like after I hit my head, I could think clearer. Even though my head was pounding, even though my head hurt, spiritually I could feel and see things and feel better about what life was to offer me. I knew I was going down the wrong path, and it kind of snapped me out of that, and it showed me a different way. I found God through prayer and everything like that. But the reason why I say, and I'm making this video, is because sometimes you need to go through crazy things and you need to go through something that really shakes you up. For me, it was hitting my head and going through so many things in that little span of time that really broke the mold for me to realize I was going down the wrong path and that I needed to change my ways. And yes, it seemed so negative at the time and it hurt so bad. But through that, I thank God for, watching over me, because honestly, like, I could have died and I could have, went down the wrong path, and I was going down the wrong path. I was hanging out with really bad people in the sense of just their character and what they were doing and how they were thinking and how they're operating. And God got me out of it by, you know, making me see that there's more to life than this, and it's whether you snap out of it or you don't. And I felt like that was a warning. Me hitting my head was a warning to let me know that um, I need to stop doing what I'm doing and really, like, repent, and do the things I need to do. And I'm not saying this as a, religious video or anything, but this is just my story. And this really happened. It took me 3 years to heal my head. And throughout those 3 years, I started to gain knowledge, and I started to become more wiser, and I started to stop my temptations, and I started to walk in my own direction. And it was like I hit my head and my grandparents died. This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. It was just like a chain reaction effect. And I'm so blessed for every little opportunity I get to even just be here right now, because I've been through so many things, and hitting my head was one of those things that I used to be like, why is this happening to me? Why is my grandparents like, why is everything happening to me all at once? And sometimes you can't ask why, you just have to go through the journey, because the journey is the blessing, and the journey is something that when you look back at it now, you understand it and you dissect it for what it is. And sometimes it's not always negative. Change your perspective, because the perspective that you have is just um, how you're seeing the world in that moment. And I was seeing that world in that moment as so negative. So I saw every opportunity, everything was just negative around me. But when I look at it now, I really look at it as it saved my life. Hitting my head, I was supposed to die in that sense, um, because it was just really bad. It was just really bad. And God had me, and He watched over me throughout the whole way. And even prior to that, even like before that, like I hit my head like two more times after that, really hard. And so that's why I say I was supposed to die, because I had multiple injuries um, that like kind of like shook me up, changed my brain a little bit. But I am so blessed for every experience I've ever went through, because it made me who I am today. And don't look at the situation that you are in as negative always. Think about it in a way of, what if this stopped me from going in the direction that wasn't going to be beneficial for me? Think about it in a positive manner, because the things that we go through are not always physical, they're spiritual as well. And you go through things to teach you lessons, and for you to understand those lessons, or to keep going down the way you are going. So don't always take a situation as what it is. Always see the silver lining of it, and always dig deeper throughout that to find the real cause of what's going on. I realized it right when it happened, that it was a spiritual thing. I grew up around spirituality my whole life, but I never was like endeavoring or anything. I didn't really know what it was. I was so young, you know what I mean? So naturally, I just didn't see it like that. But once things happened, I saw what I needed to see. I felt what I needed to feel, and I stopped smoking. I haven't smoked in 3 years because of it. I stopped hanging out with everybody that I used to hang out with. It was like I don't even talk to half of the people anymore. I moved out of the whole state. I don't live in New Jersey anymore. And things just changed, things really just changed. So I do think that I walked in the right direction.